that access for everyone. As a parent, it's my job. My son was assigned to read Go Ask Alice, a book I hadn't known anything about. He came home, it was during COVID, and so we were both COVID positive, so we were in ostracized together. And he was reading this book and he came to me and started talking to me about this book. And for those who don't know, this book is about a character who becomes a drug addict. She then starts selling drugs, she becomes a prostitute, and in the end, she dies. This is tough material. My son and I came together and we talked about what it is that he was reading, right? What happened? What is a drug addict? Are there addicts out in this world? Absolutely. How is that like for them? What is that world like for them? It opened up conversation. That's what books do. And we read all types of books for that reason. If a parent doesn't want their child to read about LGBTQIA groups, then don't have your child read about that. The way that I did that was I looked up Go Ask Alice on my phone and read what it was about. I got a synopsis. I could read the jacket cover. I could read the back of the book. Lots of different ways to figure that out than labeling things with stickers. Because then, if I look at Go Ask Alice, how's that labeled? Is that a book about drugs? Is it a book about violence? What sticker do I put on it? How many stickers? It's a lot of things to think about, and who's making those decisions, right? It shouldn't be one person making those decisions. I do want to bring up too that the American Association of Libraries, the professional organization for libraries, actually addressed this issue in 2015 with a Bill of Rights that said that prejudicial labeling should not be done. And so as a library, we should be looking to the main professional library organization for guidance. And in 2015, they decided this was a non-issue. We shouldn't be having this discussion based on that information. And so based on that, we need to dismiss this and just move on because it is not an issue that we should be addressing. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Deborah Kaufman.
Yeah, I'm here to basically support what I've heard today. I'm a Mebonite. I've lived there since 1989. My sons went to public school there. My grandsons and they all went to the library together, picked up materials to do puzzles, to go to the programs, and I think public libraries are the best thing that can happen in our community. And I love the librarians, how helpful they are, and how welcoming they've always been. So I'm concerned about this labeling, this is why I came, and I'm also concerned about the process and the politicization of a community committee. So here's some questions and comments I have. First, labeling books with a warning sticker could, as others have said, could prevent readers who want to learn more about a subject from accessing them for fear of being outed or harassed. LGBTQ patrons and their family and friends, or those who simply would like more information or shared stories, should feel welcome, not ostracized. It feels like a divisive thing to do in a community that should be welcoming. And secondly, same thing, if someone doesn't want their child to read a particular subject matter, read the books with them, screen the books, however. That doesn't give them the right to monitor what my kids read. And again, why are the LGBTQ materials singled out? What if parents objected to Muslims or Jews? I know somebody who wouldn't let her daughter read Harry Potter books because they have wizards in them and that was against her religion. So should that have a sticker? I don't approve of war or violence. The Bible is filled with stories of war and terrible violence. So does the Bible get a sticker? So I think this is a special meeting, which I feel is problematic and sort of people found out through social media that it was not widely known. I don't know if there's anybody from the press here today. And I think it's been being discussed in the committee for a while, but it's haven't seen any newspaper articles about it or anything like that. So I feel that the library patrons as a general group have not been consulted about this. Fourth, again, like someone asked, how would these books be chosen? Who would do it? How many are we talking about? Are we having a volunteer committee decide this? Are the library staff doing this in their free time? And then fifth, what happens next? Do we get a public hearing beyond this? I wonder why this is a special meeting when the regularly scheduled meeting is in 2 weeks. I don't understand what the urgency is, because I understand there was no virtual option for this So some people wanted to come virtually. So just in summary, our libraries are here to serve our entire community. Is that my time? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. I urge you to reconsider this divisive topic.
Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. Scott Spransky.
I'm Scott Spransky, I live in Burlington. The places where this has been done across the country have seen a lot of unintended effects, both harm towards kids and also creating a magnet for these materials. The people who want to hide these from kids, guess what? It's having the exact opposite effect for a lot of people. Tell a kid they don't want, you can't see this, they're going for it. It's a magnet.
Hold on a second, we have respect for everybody speaking, please.
It does call into question, who's making this decision? What relevant expertise are they bringing to the table to make these decisions? And it seems like a pretty dangerous slippery slope to empower value judgments. What's next? Is it gonna be a sticker on something with the wrong religion? Is it gonna be something with a sticker on the wrong race? That's very problematic. We wanna shield our kids from all kinds of dangers. And parents who are interested in monitoring what their kids read have that ability and should exercise that ability to see what it is they're doing. But it seems like this is one area that all political ideologies and faith perspectives should be aligned. Nobody wants a nanny state to tell us how to raise our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spransky. Jay Connect.
Hey, I'm Jay Kennett, and I live here in Burlington. I have raised 2 children to adulthood. My concern is the history we've seen. Once we identify something, we isolate it next, and then we remove it. That is a difficult slope to begin down. The second thing is, I raised 2 children, and I never restricted what they read. Some things I did not like. We had conversations about those things, and I raised 2 very thoughtful, critical thinking young women who are able to make their own decisions. That's the parent's job. It's not our job to identify things for other people. You should make responsible for what your children read and what they do, and it is not the library job to determine what a gay book may be, because what is a gay book? Is Pete Buttigieg's biography a gay book? Or is it a book about politics and leadership? It is a very difficult decision to say what something is that identify a category. And we are restricting all of our options when we do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connect. Emily Conway.
Hi, I'm Emily Conway. I live in Alamance County. I just wanted to say I agree with most everybody here that labeling books is not about guidance. It is about control. It is about discrimination. It is about stigmatizing content. There's a reason why we're only talking about queer books and we're not talking about violence and we're not talking about straight couples and we're not talking about any other complex topics or races or identities. We're only talking about queer people because that's who this committee wants to stigmatize. And it's a huge piece of committee overreach. And I think that you need to take a look at yourselves and think about what you're doing and make the right choice and back off of this policy.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Sarah Walker.
Yes, hi. I guess you should know I live in Alamance County and have done for about 18 years or so. So, I'm really confused with a lot of the things that have been said that they need to be said out loud. Reading books is, and there's posters all over the library that say this, reading books opens minds and exposures to new ideas, by the way, does not change the innate character of a person. I've read many books, just like you did, that had queer content and queer characters, and those books have not made me queer. And yes, I read some of them when I was a child. No harm, no foul. I didn't explore queer identity for myself, and it was not anything that ever appealed to me. But reading those books, and books with different types of characters, and different types of lived experiences from other countries, from different types of lived experiences here in America. I didn't grow up in poverty, but I read a lot about that. That built empathy for me. And it helped me become aware that my lived experience was not the only one. And a lot of my lived experience grew because of choices that my parents and my grandparents made in terms of education and everything else. But it did help me build empathy for those who don't hold my core values because maybe they didn't have that exposure. And as for parents not knowing what's in a book, Google exists. Amazon has wonderful synopses available for every book that's ever been published. In fact, the library has some of those synopses on their catalog. If you don't have access to the internet, guess what? The library will give you free access to it. So you do have the ability to review what your child is reading without having to read each and every book by yourself. If a person chooses not to have time to research those books, that is a priority. It is an active choice that they are making, okay? But that does not constitute a need for a public institution, part of the public good, to cater to an individual's choice or a group's individual's choice. This institution is not for people who share a certain ideology. It is for all of the people who live in Alamance County, all of us. No matter what we believe, or our political ideologies, or our identities. And on a practical level, just why? Okay? Will the librarians serve as enforcers? So if there's a parental advisory sticker, does a child have to show some kind of form of ID to check out a book? What if they're reading it in the library? Will a librarian come and snatch it out of their hands? Like, who is going to do this? And do the librarians, who are, as always, say it with me, understaffed and underpaid, have the time or the energy to do this? Does a librarian want to work for an institution that makes that kind of choice? And finally, back to what someone else said, who is the arbitrator for what constitutes LGBTQIA plus content? It's established canon that Dumbledore is considered to be gay. Do we need a sticker on Harry Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I'm gonna cut you off just only because there's 7 minutes and 45 seconds left if anybody else would like to be added to the speakers list right now. Okay, can I get your name, please?
My name is Noel.
Noel, can I get your last name?
Vaught. That's spelled V-A-U-G-H-T.
Thank you. Noel, you have the floor.
Okay. So, I'm an Alamance County resident as well. I'm from Graham. I've lived in Alamance County for the majority of my life, actually. And I just wanted to point something out to anyone who thinks that a book can make your kid gay or transgender or whatever, as well as one other thing. The second thing I'll address first, a lot of people have addressed that you can look up the content of your child's book, or you can flip through it. But there's one thing I think is really missing from the discussion here, is that one can simply read the inner or outer sleeve of the book that describes what it is about and what it contains. It already does that for you. Most books that are LGBTQ will self-identify themselves as one on the back cover. And if it were books or movies or television that made someone like me transgender or gay, well, that wouldn't exactly work out, because I didn't even know what that was until I was 16 years old. And I didn't even transition until I was 18. So I just wanted to say, like, if you think that hiding this information from your kids will make them not gay or not transgender or whatever, I'm kind of living proof that that's wrong. And I just, again, wanted to echo a lot of the sentiments stated in here, and how I believe that this is inherently a discriminatory policy. And I feel like the proposition of a pink triangle, which is used to mark gay Holocaust victims in concentration camps as a potential logo for this, is disgusting, it is vile, and it is fundamentally evil. That is my opinion.
Thank you, Noel. 6
I,
minutes.
my husband already spoke and said a lot of things.
Can I get your name?
Tammy Greeno, with Scott Springs. We have talked and heard briefly about bullying. Bullying's a real problem. Bullying happens in the workplace as adults. It happens to kids. And fortunately, as adults, we have the tools to do it. When we are limiting and labeling books, you're also telling these children, students that are checking out these books, they can't read them in public. That pink sticker is gonna show. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna hide it in another book. They're going to cover it with another book cover. They're not gonna read in public. So now we're actually saying it has a sticker, so those kids are going to hide in it. What if it's, it's just a great book that happens to have a character? Why, like other people have said, don't And we want our kids to know other people's lives and experiences in the real world. We hope that our kids are gonna grow and thrive and ultimately be good human beings. I mean, if you want something other than that for your child, that's something you should Google. But the way the world is, the current climate of our politics, we're being bullied constantly. We're being bullied by the internet. We're being bullied by decisions that the government is making for us. And reading opens up worlds and experiences to everyone. It doesn't make a person. It gives them more information and knowledge, empathy. It bridges friendships and makes people relatable and relative. But there's also fantasy world out there. So if a fantasy book has a gay character, are we also saying, ooh, this is gonna like kind of really make the religious people angry who don't believe in fantasy, but then it has a gay mention, a gay character? Are we going with gay character, majority of gay? Is there a percentage, a couple of percentages? You know, you get like a little triangle, but the bigger triangle. Are we doing, like someone said, with Harry Potter, is that like a pink sticker with like a wizard on it? You know, it is a slippery slope. It opens up for more things, but it's not just like, this young adult book is about a gay character in a public school who has straight friends. So that's a half triangle because it's not really about them. All the other people are straight. So just really think about those things. Thank you.
My name is Larry Villani. I live in Mebane. And the only thing I will add is I'm so impressed by so many people here today. And if there are also other issues about funding or staffing or treatment of our library personnel, I would hope that somehow the community would get behind those things. Just like I haven't heard anything from Washington about grocery prices or about egg prices. I've heard about Greenland and DEI. And so this feels like a DEI thing to me a little bit. That's me, personally speaking. So I hope people can rally or there's some way to organize for more support for the library if in fact that's really needed. So, and thank you for having this hearing.
Thank you. There is about 2 minutes and 51 seconds.
I just wanted to add one thing, that I
I'm sorry,
You can't
you already
add.
spoke, so you
Oh,
weren't actually
okay,
gonna
never
go
mind.
to. I did see
I'll be very fast. Lydia White from Mebane. I was just, like the second lady who spoke, I am a homeschool parent, and I think the reason some kind of labeling would appeal is not so that we can make our kids never see this information, but just so that if we want to, we will know this is what they want to bring home, and we'll know this is something we should talk about. Yes, we should vet their books. Yes, when you bring home 50 books at once, it is hard to vet every single book before you bring it home. There are, all these books that have book covers, and that makes it easy. You flip open the book cover, you can see it, but that's not true of the little children's books. They don't have book covers with flaps that tell you what to mean. And just like it's helpful to know, this is a Valentine's book. This is a book about African Americans. Maybe I should, that'd be great. Teach them, what it feels like, what their history is like. That's the benefit that it would be, is that parents want to be able to let their children free in the children's section to just check out books. And that's why I would be in favor of something. I'm not sure how that would work out, but I just wanted to voice that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Yeah, okay.
Can I have your name?
So, Sherry Lee, and I live in Graham. And, I happen to be sitting in front of one of the agendas for the meeting. And at the top, there's a very lovely mission statement that says, Alamance County Public Libraries provide learning opportunities for all members of our community to be successful in living a larger life by nurturing the heart and mind. So I think it's a beautiful sentiment, and I wonder how much this proposal, this policy furthers that mission.
Thank you, Jerry. Hi, Sam.
Carla Estrada from Mebane. I just want to quickly say that this is about normalizing discrimination, homophobia, transphobia, and disgusting hate. This is not a concern for children, otherwise we would take the time to simply book or read it before your child read it, so I urge you not to be lazy if your views are so important to you. This is a very lazy attempt to further your discriminatory and embarrassingly outdated viewpoint. Do your job as a parent, don't ask someone else to do it.
Thank you. And 39 seconds.
Yeah. I just have, your name please? Oh, sorry, Molly Exum. Thank you. Okay, I just have a question. I don't expect the answers to happen right now, but what are next steps? I hope we can know about a next meeting or what the next steps are. And then the other, to piggyback on the mission statement about intent. And I hope that the intent will follow the mission statement and the final decision will follow and best represent the mission statement of the library to be inclusive. And it's not out of fear.
Thank you. Okay. I appreciate all the comments, as do, as I'm sure members of the board. We are not under obligation by county bylaws to respond to any comments. Does anybody have anything that they want to say in response? Paula?
I think we need to rehash the history of some of this because concerned parents were going to legislatures and expressing their concern for the safety of their children, and every mother is concerned about the safety of their children. And it spiraled into bathroom issues, whether we need different bathrooms for different people that respond to different issues, and their concern was initially safety. And when they had the law that K through 4, there were objectionable books, then we were discussing whether this would come into an area where K through 4 would also have the same issues. And then we were also seeing concerns about the ability to go to school of your choice. So then taxpayers were wondering, well, I don't particularly like this, I'd rather have my kid here, or there. So it was getting to be a very serious taxpayer issue, and everybody wants to have their child safe. Everyone has rights, and so the issue is, how do we do that? If this labeling isn't a good idea, what do we do? Because everybody's rights are important, and everybody's concerns are important. I mean, it'd be great if we could just have, like, with the bathroom issue, everybody have like a big row of bathrooms with a door, just like at home. And, you know, that would be, everyone would be safe, and everybody's concerns, it wouldn't be like you're invading somebody else's space, nobody be bullied. But the safety issue was what parents were going to the legislatures about, and this is why the law was passed. And there might be more laws, because as we know, politics now is looking like could be K through 12 with this certain surgeries that are kind of on the table now. So I mean, it's an ongoing issue, but the main thing is safety. And if anybody can come up with a plan, I mean, that's great, because I mean, we're concerned about everybody's safety. And I don't everybody should be safe.
Well, ma'am, this is the
I understand it breaks the rules, but when she talks about everybody's safety, she's not talking
Okay,
about
ma'am,
everybody's safety.
ma'am.
How do you know that?
Ma'am.
Because of everything
You
else.
can't, please don't address the committees, these are folks that are appointed, these are your representatives.
I don't think so.
You can leave,
I could or I can stay.
okay. So, I mean, if we need to stop the meeting because you can't be under control, we gave you your time. These are the committee members that put their volunteer time in, you need to give them their time, please. And you'll hear the whole statements, okay? Thank you.
So, I mean, this is our intent to help our community, and if anybody has suggestions, other than stickers, or should these books be banned totally, because K through 4? I mean, look, this is what I was, saying, I mean, the law is K through 4 is supposed to be regulated, and we're law-abiding citizens, so, I mean, is it or is not a legal issue, or can it be handled somewhere else?
Again, all these committee members have emails and, contact information, you want to send some.
Where do we access those?
It's not on the website or either website now.
The-
I mean,
committee members aren't on there.
Their names are on the email.
Everybody's in town.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm referencing the county commissioners, so sorry about that, but you can address it to the library and you get it to the
Yes,
commission
and
members.
Pam Thompson is the advisor from the commissioners to the board at this time, so she'd probably be the most appropriate person to reach out to with comments by email.
There is an email address on the library committee page, and communications get shared with the library committee.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll make sure you have it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I did wanna say something, cause, I'm fairly new to the committee, okay? I'm gay, I've been, with my wife for 20 years, okay? I think there's been a misconception here that this is about the gay community, gay, lesbian, transgender community. Oh no, we're gonna go put stickers on all the gay books. My understanding from the last meeting was that there was some concern about, and I share this concern because I have read some novels, some like graphic type comic book novels, as they call them, that were extremely explicit sexually. And now I don't care if it's, heterosexual sex or if it's not heterosexual sex. As a gay person myself, I don't discriminate, okay? So my thing is children, especially young children, don't need to be exposed to certain things necessarily, and parents, most households, both parents work, they're very busy, as you know, because it's hard to make ends meet and pay your bills, and, we know how it is, right? So they don't always have time to grab the book and read it before their child does, and we don't want to limit, the library doesn't want to limit, what people can read and what's available, ever. That would be horrible, right? But I think what the concern was more along the level of how graphic do we want it to be for young children? And parents should have the right, in my opinion, and I'm not a parent, I'll state that, right off the bat. But I have friends who have kids, some straight, some not. And they would appreciate a little help, a little identification if there's a lot of sexually explicit material in a book. We're not talking about just a novel that has a gay character or, even a novel that's all gay characters, It's okay, everybody should read different stuff. But some of this stuff is super sexually explicit on both sides of the house. And we're not talking just about, gay and lesbian stuff. We're talking about heterosexual stuff too, that's just a little too graphic for a child. Some of it made me blush, I'll be honest with you, and I've been around a long time, I'm old. So, I've been around a long time and it's hard to make me blush. I've been in the military for 25 years, retired from the military. So, I've seen a lot, I've been around a lot. I don't think it's about, I think it's about helping assist the parents of the children where they can like glance at something their kid's got in their hand and say, oh, wait a minute, let me see that before you tear into that, just see what's in it, And I think it was, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was more about sexually explicit material in general, not gay and lesbian necessarily.
I have a
But
copy
then
of
put a sticker that says sexually explicit.
Hey, I didn't interrupt you when you were talking.
No, you can't.
So,
She's
you know what, let me
responding.
finish.
Please.
I respected you, respect me. Cause this is just my opinion, okay? Everybody's got one, you know what they say about that too. So, but, that's my opinion, is just trying to assist the parents in some way, and if somebody's got a better idea, then please, let us hear that. We'd be receptive to any ideas to help, protect the young children. Because some parents just don't have the time, like I said, to go through and just read everything before their kid does, So we're just trying to assist with sexually explicit material across the board, not just one we don't wanna throw a rainbow sticker on every gay and lesbian book and make a child a target. That's not what we're trying to do at all. So I think that's a misconception. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think
That-
that
that,
we brought in this too during the minutes last.
Right, what kind of brought it up was the sexual explicit nature of some of the materials in the library in general, across the board. So, I just wanted to say that, but.
So what is the proposal exactly?
We can just finish this and then we'll go ahead and get back to that, okay? So just make sure nobody else reports here this time.
Sorry.
Anyone?
Well, for me, it's, not just about the sexuality, but it's also about any kind of things that I don't want my little kids to read about. It could be about cutting, it could be about eating disorders, it could be about, bullying, it could be about drug use, it could be about underage drinking, and we'll get into it later, but the labels aren't rainbow labels. They're actually just advisory labels to cover anything that I don't want my kids to read. So no one has been singled out. It's just,
when we started talking about this over a year ago, we discussed how implementation, and we discussed what our intent was. And I think the intent of what the board was discussing has been lost somehow in the minutes. Our intent was not to censor or ban books. It was not to move books to a restricted area. It was not to request removal of books. It was not requiring parental approval for checkout. It did not include an age requirement for children to check out books with any stickers. It was not asking to limit the selection of books in the children's section. We were not suppressing constitutionally protected speech or images. That was never the goal. That was never the intent when we discussed it. So I'm not sure how things got communicated online, but that was not what the board's goal was. What we designed, what our hope was, when we, again, there's a policy for the library that everyone can access online, and the policy makes the parents the ultimate authority on what their children bring home. It is not the library's duty to do that. So in putting additional information on books, we are affirming the right of parents to guide the media choices of their children. So what that, to us, was the intent was to make sure that parents knew if there was an issue that maybe they felt like their children were too young to be exposed to, they were aware. If there was an issue in a book that they wanted to address with their family because there was a family member or there was someone that they knew that they wanted to address a lifestyle, they knew where to find that book. They knew where to access it or to avoid it until they felt the maturity of their children was such that they could, they were prepared for it. So, I think that's all that that I'm gonna say now until we start discussing the.
And I will just take a second to go over a couple comments that I have here. Ms. Kaufman, I want to address what you said, you felt like it would be possibly outing people to see the labels, and other people brought it up as well, but I just want to bring that point up as well. Initially, we did think that using a rainbow sticker was going to be useful, because I thought there was a pride situation. I thought it wasn't going to be a controversial label at all, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons that we voted to use that symbol, because we figured it was easily identifiable, people would know what it meant on site, and it wasn't anything that was controversial. It just seemed people were homosexual and wanted to identify children's literature that had homosexual characters or content, that it would make it easier for them to see it, and likewise, if people were trying to avoid that content, it would make them easier to know which books that they would not want to check out. But then, in our last meeting, Matthew Roberts, was a member that was only here for a brief period before he moved, but he brought up that perhaps we should broaden the stickers so that we can just make it more of sexually explicit violence, danger, and content that parents felt that they needed to address additional guidance for. So discretion was the word that we did use, but I think Cheryl had mentioned to us also guidance was the word that might be more appropriate, parental guidance advised. And I think that our intent for that, like you said, Bonnie, and like you addressed, Cheryl, was specifically to raise awareness about the content of books, which we do through labels for Women's History, Black History Month, certain holidays. There are many labels that are used throughout the library system and throughout other library systems that help create a visual cue of what is in a book. And that was our intention, to continue and extrapolate on that particular use. We've already been using labels. This did not seem very controversial when we were discussing it. So it's been a very interesting couple of days. Somebody else mentioned that this meeting was not publicized appropriately. Suzanne, can you speak to that?
The meeting and meeting information is always on the library committee website. When it comes to special call meetings, we are required to give 5 days advance notice, and that is what was done.
Perfect, okay. So that is the policy for special meetings. We did discuss a need for a special meeting in our last regular meeting, because like again, we've been talking about this for almost a year, and we want to address the constituents that we've already heard from and help find a solution for people who come into the children's section and find material that they believe to be questionable, regardless of what that entails. As we've already said, violence, it could be sexual content, it could be drug use. I can't believe the public schools are doing, go ask Alice, I really can't. But it goes well beyond LGBTQ, and it honestly is really, it's very curious to me that has been the focus on this, when we went really out of our way to try to make sure that we weren't targeting any one group with this. And I'm very appreciative of Bonnie's participation in our panels for the last, I think it's been about a year at this point, yes? With our discussions, because she brings a unique vantage point that we want to respect. And so, thank you for being open about your life and helping contribute to the conversation in that regard as well. And we appreciate the public comments, but I think that we can go ahead and get on with the regular portion of the meeting at this point. All right, do we need a recess for anything?
You can do a recess, but,
Okay, all right, so we'll move on to unfinished business, which is the sticker request and use. We have we received an email, the parental discretion advised stickers. What are our thoughts on this? Did we think we should change this to parental guidance, so it doesn't seem as much of a warning, but as a notice? What do you want to do about this?
I'm fine with either word, that's all I was gonna say. Advisory, guidance, whatever you want to use.
To me, parental discretion advised is a stronger phrase. And it's not the spirit of what we were trying to do. Guidance suggested just simply means parents need to be aware in case they need to have
that's the public content portion. Public comments portion is when you bring up any information. These people, or you can contact them through the committee thing. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. They're having a regular meeting. Now you're just observers.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to just ask the question about the context, so.
You can't answer,
You have-
no,
This is a policy that's already decided, and you're just having this,
they haven't decided,
This
they
is-
haven't finalized the policy, and this is their committee meeting to do it. Normally we
Okay.
have like 2 or 3 people at the most. We've got hundreds of
okay,
people.
because you're getting the implementation and not asking suggestions, but I'll make those.
I do question the order of the public comments. It is an interesting thing to me. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You
I appreciate
can,
that.
as part of the policy, you can, they have, and again, we are bringing this in from what the commissioners do at their meetings, county commissioners. So you have the ability with your group to change any of these kind of orders of how you want to do it.
Okay.
But that's what you've had up to this point. So if you feel like you need to make a
We can
change,
discuss
your
that in the
group,
future, that's good.
you can put that in there.
Thank you, so the context is, this is a county commissioner, kind of a policy decision, and you're just implementing that decision.
No, the policy is the county commissioner's way of running a meeting.
Yeah.
We're just mimicking what the county commissioners have set up.
So years ago, the county commission put the public speaking at the front of the meeting, so people could not react to what the commissioner said, because they did not want to hear, in context of what was about to be said, only what had been said previously. So they had too many people coming to comment on what they covered that time of the meeting, so they changed it so the public has to speak before they know what the county commission is.
Thank you for the context, but we do need to get to the business of the meeting.
All right, so, do we want to recap where we are with the sticker request, Suzanne? Can you recap where we are with it, what's been approved, and what we're waiting on approval for?
At this point, nothing has been approved. There have been conversations about what the sticker looks like, what the sticker will say, that have changed over time. At the November meeting, the request was for a parental discretion advised sticker that was just a design and no longer aligned with like the LGBTQ plus flag or anything like that. And you were provided with a number of design options that were created by staff.
Perfect. Okay, so we can right now have a discussion about what we are going to do regarding the sticker design and what we are going to do in terms of what will constitute subject matter specific related. So we already mentioned the wording. Bonnie's okay with leaving it to say parental discretion. The stickers, in your opinion, are fine as is? They're fine as is, no suggestions? What you want to do?
I'm fine either way.
Okay.
Colors you mean?
I think she's talking about guidance suggestions.
Or the colors as well, if there's a specific color that you think is more appropriate than the other, I think it should probably be a consistent color, that makes the most sense.
I like the orange or yellow.
What are you sure?
I agree.
As is, wording and everything, any particular color choice that you think is beneficial or the most identifiable, or what do you think?
I don't have a preference.
Paul? Then in that interest, I think the wording is fine, we've discussed this in the past. We can choose a color, I think last time Matt also mentioned yellow, we did kind of discuss wanting something bright. So yellow or orange seemed fine to me, I would just say we should just pick one of those two. Moving on from that, we can also discuss the content areas, so we've mentioned violence, we've mentioned sexual explicit material. What else?
Underage drinking and drugs.
Okay. Paul? Any suggestions in terms of that? Violence, sexual, explicit material, underage drinking and drug use. What other things are used in media relations? Is there any other things that we're missing? Because some of you did think that that you can look at a Google review and get content advice on books. And so that's actually very difficult to do. I don't know if you've ever, I actually know how, ma'am, and I'm really pretty expert enough. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I'm not the one or the two, Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, I don't know what my color has to do with anything,
True
but thank you
colors.
very
She
much.
said
true colors.
Okay, okay.
Interesting that you can provide feedback to us, but when we have feedback to you during the meeting.
Do you know how a meeting is supposed to operate in this?
I'm gonna leave.
I'm
I don't think if anybody else wants to
disappointed
say
in myself for not being involved more involved in the meeting, because this is how you react when you have a meeting, when there's confrontation, so you are showing your true colors. And the fact that you're backing up parents that email you with concerns, I didn't email you because I didn't think I had to worry about
Thank
books in the
you.
public.
We do want to continue to move this on. Thank you very much.
You're the one who stopped it, so I was just addressing.
Again, so violent, sexually explicit material, underage drinking and drug use. As I was saying, the Google thing is difficult for people to do because sometimes there is content inside of a theme that is not disclosed on the book jacket. So that is the concern that people have. We've seen it in our own children. Other people, including some people that I see in attendance here, have concerns about the material that has been buried within children's literature that is not part of the content, does not contribute to the plot or to the theme of the book in any way. And that's a valid concern. Just because a certain segment of the population decided to rally against this action, which we've been discussing for almost a year, doesn't mean that the rest of the population in this county doesn't exist. The rest of the population does exist. And if the November election results are any clue, the majority is.
That's great.
I don't need to hear from you again. I don't need to hear from you. But I hope I see you
You haven't even talked about who is putting the stickers on and what those will be done.
If Google's really difficult for a couple people to use, how are you guys gonna decide which book to pick the sticker?
Well, you would know if you stuck around and heard that discussion.
Oh, okay, great, I'd love to.
Oh, she's staying.
Okay.
You're not a boring chair, you have to be careful.
Yeah, let's just swear on it.
Throw me out. Try.
We can cancel a meeting and do it
I mean,
another
we
time.
can do that. All right, so, anyway, we've come to the terms of violence, sexually explicit material, underage drinking and drug use. Bruce, what did you want to say?
I was just gonna say, you have the ability to table it, you have the ability to also say how you can address, how, you guys are knowledge of this, and of course, it's in the minutes if everybody did all the research. But you may want to explain how this person, what the policy is to submit a book to even be reviewed.
And I think we can do that because we're going to be reading the form in just a
Okay, so
minute.
you may wanna do that just to help the public understand where you're at, what you guys decide.
So then before we go ahead and vote on this, we will look at the form and discuss that in the context of this advisory sticker. All right, so we received with our meeting, notice, the parental discretion advised request. I have a couple concerns with this particularly, specifically the burden on the public and on the library. Susanna, you guys have quite a bit of work to do, and this seems like if it's involving this many steps of review, it might be burdensome on the library staff. How much time commitment a month is given to, like, how are these meetings held? How often are they held? How often would these be reviewed? What would be the process?
I'll be honest, I replicated the process that there is for the request for reconsideration.
Okay.
And the exact same process that exists for when people disagree with a book being
Okay.
in the library or a display being up in the library. It is the same review process for those that this form has.
Okay.
And so when we get a submission is when we call the meetings and do the work for it, so.
Okay.
Don't really have
There's not like a general meeting, it doesn't meet once a month, once a quarter?
we meet as needed.
Okay. And would one request prompt you to meet, or would you wait until you had like a certain threshold, or?
We take every request as needed.
So how many people are on these committees? How much burden is that on your staff? Do they have to come from other locations? Are they at one branch?
Leadership management team is about 11, 12 people.
Okay. Are these done face to face? Are they done by Zoom?
In person.
Okay, so when you call the meeting 5 days, how often, what is the, trying to understand what this involves from both from your point as the library director and also for the burden on the staff in the library, 12 people have to be called out.
The initial part, when it's a staff meeting to do a review of a request of this nature, is, I'll be honest, like, we'll just meet. Usually I give them at least a week advance notice so we can get that schedules rearranged as necessary. Send them the material in advance so they have time to read it and we meet and discuss.
Is it burdensome for you?
No.
Is it burdensome for the staff?
No.
And how are the committees chosen? The leadership management team and the racial equity team, are they two different distinct groups of people, or is there some overlap?
They are mostly distinct groups of people. There may be a small amount of overlap. Leadership management team does depend on the leadership of the library system, based on branch managers and public service platform. Numbers 1 and 2 in charge of each location and in charge of individual services. So all townships and services are represented, as well as the members of admin team who is here as well. So that is the 12 members of the leadership team. The racial equity team is an internal committee within the library that staff can apply to be a part of, and they do racial equity work within the library to ensure that we are taking that into consideration within our own procedures.
Okay. Excellent, so it's not burdensome on the staff, so that's good. After speaking with the branch manager or library director, borrowers with continued concerns regarding age appropriateness of materials in the children's department should complete the parent discretion advice form to have an identification sticker applied. Okay, so this is just them requesting the form. That's where they would obtain the form from.
They would get the form because they would like a sticker placed on an item.
Okay, and that's any branch of the library. Okay.
So, am I to understand, no one's gonna go through all the books and just start putting stickers
Right.
willy-nilly on stuff, right?
No.
I'm just trying to make this clear. Someone would have to request on this form,
Correct.
say, hey, I think this is too explicit for my 4-year-old, or whatever, or it's too explicit. I'd like a sticker put on it, and then it would go to committee from there, not us,
Not us.
a committee, you know. And then that committee would make the decision on whether or not to put a sticker on that book, correct?
The library staff.
My understanding, that's how the process would work, right?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to identify the process and how it would work, and, you know.
And it's only those areas were identified with sexual violence, that's the only areas that we labeling.
Well, the ones that were brought up, yes, ma'am.
And then at that point, the decision is communicated to the person who requested it, and if they disagree with the decision, they can appeal to the library committee.
Okay.
Right, I got you. I just wanted to make the process clear for everybody, what it would be and who would be deciding. It's not gonna be us. And anybody can turn in a request if they feel that a book is too sexually explicit, or, you know, or whatever, or it talks about, suicide even, you know.
That's a good one, actually.
That's another one that it's a subject people need to know about, because it exists, it runs rampant in our society right now, especially among veterans, and kids, like LGBT, you know, it runs rampant, so. But it's still a sensitive topic for some younger children that just don't really understand. So that might be another one to consider, I'm just throwing it out there.
So are you adding it?
What's
I
that?
thought you had already settled what was gonna be on it, is that adding it?
We haven't settled
We're discussing
anything, we're
it. That's what
discussing the
we're
whole
doing.
issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
couldn't understand.
We could consider violence towards self or others, and that would.
Oh, yeah, there you go, yeah, sure, yeah,
Because
that includes
it's-
the whole broad spectrum with violence.
Sure,
It
and it
would just
includes
be
cutting,
one-
which Lindsay
Right.
referenced earlier.
Yeah, you can just clarify it that way. I mean, I would be happy with that, but, my point was what the process was gonna be, so I just kinda wanted to lay that out, so everybody knew what
No,
the
that's
process
good,
was.
because that was something that they were concerned with, sure.
Yes, they were concerned with how was this gonna be done, who's gonna decide, you know, are you just gonna go through and put stickers all over the
Right.
books, you know, willy-nilly, you know, we don't.
Burden the staff, exactly, that
Yeah,
was brought up.
just wanted to clarify.
These are things, all of these are things that we put trigger warnings on social media, I've seen people do that, you know, when they make posts on social media, so again, it's not a controversial issue.
Social media itself is triggering.
Right,
That's why I don't like to use it.
Do you get a lot of requests, Suzanne, at the bottom from organizations? Okay, that's good.
May I make a suggestion?
You can send in your suggestion to the group, again, you can talk to them afterwards. This is just a formal
But
committee
I would
meeting.
like for everybody to consider that
Well-
nobody make a decision on what is advised.
You can tell them that, you can tell them that,
put a
ma'am.
sticker inside the book
Ma'am.
that says, "A parental advisory has been requested for this book." And then the parent just opens the book, they see this, they see that.
We are gonna take a 5-minute recess. I'm gonna go and fill up my water, and if you would like to tell me your suggestion while I do that, I would love that. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
As for the history of how LGBTQ came into all of this, I highly suggest reading the minutes from the meeting.
For everybody here, it sounds like what we could do is pick up every single book in the children's section and request that that be reviewed for all of these very, to have parents be able to choose whether or not they want their child who may have mental health issues to be able to read about bullying or violence or whatever. I think that we could make a case that many, children's standards could be considered, needing this parental advisory. I mean, we could each go, I don't know, pick up 50 books and submit 50 books and, I don't know, just sort of have every single book reviewed, because we certainly don't want this sensitive information accidentally falling into the hands of a homeschooling parent, and maybe giving their kids an idea of something beyond their lived experience. So I assume that we can do, oh no, you're not needing that. So
I think having
we
some
can
kind of
certainly
build
do that.
process in order to be able to counter an overuse of that, so that they can go forward
I do think
with
it's
cutting suicidality. But as a community, we can dispute things when it is getting misused to censor LGBT.
Well, that's not part of the process, but I do think the
But I
very
think
best way
adding it
is to flood the pipeline with each and every book that's available currently, and make that be an active choice to each and every book. Say whether or not it is, because I could certainly view things as violence that maybe somebody else wouldn't. Or I could label something dealing with mental health, and somebody else might say that is a violence thing. So I think that maybe we should really consider that for all of these traditional books that have, maybe not been reviewed. 3 Bears, that's violence against the 3 Bears, they both enter their home.
Did you want to tell me your suggestion before we were back in session?
I'm sorry, where will this be posted? And I don't have I haven't given you permission to film me, so.
I assume it's a public meeting. I'm doing this, and there's a private website that I'm part of that's going to put this on.
Okay, and what kind of website is it? Because I do not give you permission to film me,
Okay, it's a public meeting.
but it's a private website, so who is posting this?
Give me your email and I can talk to you more because they're about to start again. I'm happy to talk to you more about it.
Yeah, I don't want to be doxxed, because there's a real fear of that in this community, and it happens all the time. So I think you have to actually, before you film somebody, regardless if it's a public meeting, they have to give you explicit permission to film it.
Okay.
And you have not done that
You're
for any
right.
speaker.
I know.
And that is against
Yeah.
the law.
Could you give me your email? I'm happy to follow up
Feel
with
free
you.
to pass it on
really am.
to followers that you might be sending this to that I have no knowledge of, but
Right.
that's illegal.
Thanks. Can you read it? Just.
Well, it looks like SLWSCOUT.
Yeah, can you make it clear from your point of view? I know it.
I don't know.
I know, but just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to